What is up, RotoGrinders? 2 hours of non-stop NBA DFS conversation starts right now, taking you all the way up the lock. Crunch time coming in around 6:15 or so on the East Coast. You got myself and Chop in the next hour and 15 minutes for a 7-gamer. Nice number. That's kind of the magic number. 7-gamer. That's kind of the way this week is playing out, too. A lot of Goldilocks slates. Not too many games, not too few games. 7 games, of course, a plethora of body parts, injuries that we're monitoring that will drop throughout the show. If we don't talk about it, of course, crunch time will get to it, maybe even beyond. Houston could quite possibly be ruling out their entire team with the scheduled blowout back half of back-to-back in Houston. Always a tough matchup. I'm sorry. They're in Oklahoma. It's not the back half of a back-to-back. I don't know why I said that. But the front half, 4 teams in the front half. That's Golden State, Philly, Atlanta, and the Rockets. They're in the front half of a back-to-back. They might be punting this one off because tomorrow they're at Indy. We have 4 teams in the back half. That's Miami, the Thunder, the Jazz, and the Blazers. It is a movie Monday. We'll drop that first clue in just a second. Chop, how are things? How was your weekend? Everything all good?
Seems okay, Dean. Seems all right. I can't complain about anything. Just another weekend without some football, so we're just grinding down those weeks now, man.
You can complain about something. You're not going to, but you certainly can. In a pinch, if you needed to come up with something, you can come up with something.
I could certainly come up with a lot of things, but I'm not going to.
Yes.
Same.
Yes.
I don't, it is the same old. We got NBA college basketball tonight. Should be fun, I guess, a little bit. It is. We're not that far out from baseball, so things are starting to turn the corner a little bit here.
Yeah, getting injury news, spring training stuff, lots of stuff coming through. I have to submit my keepers for my dynasty league very soon. You mentioned you didn't talk about hockey, but of course the Florida Panther debut for Seth Jones. I know you're excited about that. Panthers made a big trade over the weekend. And you might remember Seth Jones because you probably remember his father, maybe, quite possibly. Fringe NBA player. Remember Popeye Jones? Remember Popeye?
Oh, love Popeye. Love Popeye Jones.
Yeah, this is his kid. He was, I think, the number 1 pick many years ago. Defenseman. All right. Getting excited about that, my Florida Panthers. But, 7-gamer tonight in the association. I did drop this in the chat for the people doing it right now. Tonight's injuries, the injury report, the situation room, if you will, the free piece of content here from RG. There will be no pool party. Jordan Poole is officially ruled out. Sabonis done for at least a week or so with his hammy. It's going to be Jonas Valanciunas season. Philadelphia fully motivated to lose games. They are currently in the 7th spot in the Tankathon, and they are protected 1 through 6. So they very much want to lose. They want to keep losing. Of course, they finally shut down Embiid. George is questionable. Şengün on your Rockets is questionable. Front half of a back-to-back. Amen also questionable. FEV, Freddie VanVleet already ruled out. The Jazz don't care. They're just resting everybody again. I guess they think Detroit's not good enough. Typically they play their guys against decent teams, and maybe it's a lack of respect for Detroit. I don't know, but yeah, Markkanen's out. We have the 2 fastest teams playing each other tonight as far as pace. Atlanta and Memphis, Chop. 253 is the last I saw as far as the total. Let's give that a refresh. That's about as big as you're going to see on the season. 252.5. There's a hook there now. We don't know about Ja. He's currently questionable. He seems to always be questionable. We saw Triple J go off last time out. Santi Aldama also a midday downgrade for him with his calf. I mentioned Paul George, his teammate Kelly Oubre. Midday downgrade with illness. Again, Philly really wants to lose this basketball game tonight. They should. I think Portland's right there with them, right? No, I guess Chicago and San Antonio are in between. But, yeah, Philly's basically tied with Brooklyn for that 6th spot. So they really need to start. They've done a great job. They're 1-9 in their last 10. So they did win last time out. So they might try their best here to lose tonight. Chop, anything you want to say as far as the slate before we fully dive in? You probably have some trivia for me, don't you? You got some Houston Astro trivia? Is that something we have?
Oh man, it's the weirdest thing, Dean. Let me rip it off the calendar real quick. These freaking questions, they're not. Somehow we've taken a turn to where they're not Houston Astros related anymore. I don't know what's going on here, man. Maybe there's too many days in a year to come up with a question.
There's only so many Astros in too many days.
But so this is not Astros related, but I'll throw this one out there to you. Who was the first pitcher to win a Cy Young Award 4 times? 4-time Cy Young Award winner, the first one to ever do it. I'll give you a hint.
I was gonna throw out a guess, but okay,
throw out a guess, then I'll give you a hint.
I was gonna guess Sandy Koufax.
You are a little bit too early.
Okay.
The first one to do it took place in the decade starting in the 70s, and he went through the 80s.
70s through the 80s. Jim Palmer, maybe? Not Steve Carlton. That's too late. 70s and the 80s. So it wouldn't be Clemens, right? Clemens started in 85. American League, National League?
National.
Now that changes things. Okay. Well, this person you said has no relation to the Astros?
No relation to the Astros, oddly enough. But
yeah,
I will say the team he's most associated with recently got beat by the Astros in a World Series.
Recently. I see the chat out of the corner of my eye, and I'm like, Oral Hershiser. It can't be Oral Hershiser. Come on, J3.
Hershiser did play for the Dodgers, and the Astros did beat the Dodgers. But that's not the answer. But that's a good guess.
But Earl didn't pitch in the 70s.
Well, maybe he made his debut in 79. We don't know.
Did I say? No, I think I said Carlton, but that's too late as well. I don't have a good answer. I don't know.
Gosh, you had it, Dean. It's Steve Carlton.
It is.
72, 77, 80, and 82 Cy Young Award.
Oh, I thought Carlton was more of an 80s guy. Okay, my bad.
No.
I'm not good at this game.
No, you're good. You're good. You had it. You talked yourself out of it. So now we're on Movie Monday though, Dean. I need some clues here. I need some clues dropped.
Yeah, get yourself a week free of RG Premium. Jump into this Discord channel, RotoGrinders.com/Discord. Live stream chats. Somebody says Fernando. I think Fernando burned out pretty quickly. Fernando Mania was a big deal for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
He had a couple years, but he flamed out pretty quickly. But when he was doing his thing, he was amazing. It was a phenomenon, right? But I don't think he lasted terribly. I think he had arm injuries. I'm not really sure what happened to him, but small sample size for him. Yeah, the first clue, it's already been dropped. Producer Steve's on top of it. It is Portrait. Portrait is the first clue. Tell me what movie we're talking about, and get yourself a week free of RG Premium. There you go. Be the first to tell me, and you only get one guess per clue drop, and you answer those only in the Discord. RotoGrinders.com/Discord, live stream chat channel. If you want to guess in the YouTube, by all means, I suppose, sure, get your reps in. Also hit that like button while you're hanging out there. And do subscribe, turn on those notifications, do all those things, hit all the buttons. But Chop, that is our first clue. It is Portrait. Enjoy that one.
All right. First guess is up. My first guess is up.
That's a good guess. It's not the answer, but that is a good guess. I respect that guess. Let me see if anybody actually guessed the same thing. I'm always curious because they tend to think along similar lines sometimes. I'm jumping in the Discord channel right now. I want to see. Shout out those to get their early guesses in. Let's see. Cannot find the channel. Oh, there it is. It is not. Oh, now I'm seeing Tom Seaver and Steve Carlton. It's not Step Brothers or Bruce Almighty or Back to the Future or The Blind Side. None of those. The guesses are coming in though, and get yourself a week free of premium. Let me know your thoughts as far as tonight's slate. We have 2 games at 7:00. Do you think Is there shenanigans going on with the Rockets? Are they just resting everybody today? They all have body parts.
I don't know. Yeah,
Franfa back to back. They're taking on the Thunder. They're already 10-point dogs. Because that's 8 o'clock, and when will we know that is kind of important. Although there's plenty of value pieces as is. Later on in Detroit, taking on Utah. No Tobias. Open some stuff up a little bit, but obviously no Sabonis clears the way for Valanciunas against a team that's basically centerless. I shouldn't say that because Kai Jones might be available. I don't know if he's cleared. Is he officially signed? I know Dwight Powell's somebody they can dust off for 20 minutes or so, but he's kind of undersized as a 5. They'll roll him out there best they can. But they lost Moses Brown. His 10-day expired, and I don't know the technicalities of all this, but they weren't allowed to re-sign him. They have to wait a couple weeks or something like that. It's against the NBA rules. I don't know if that's to do with the aprons or not. There's Philly doing their thing. Oubre is out. Yeah, that does make sense that he would not play. And I'm going to guess that Paul George is going to fall behind. We'll see. We're getting news for tomorrow as well, but maybe we'll get some clarity on Paul George. And all of a sudden it might be whose season will it be for Philadelphia? Quentin Grimes season again? Part 2? Maxey will get all the shots in the world, but how efficient will he be? And he's also dealing with, he's playing through a hand, I believe, playing through something. I guess, George has a finger. I think Maxey's playing through something as well. But what do you got, Chop? What are we looking at as far as the slate? Your general thoughts? I kind of like this one, but it can get goofy, and I think it's going to get weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we just got to talk about it. There's a lot of stuff going on. You asked my opinion on the Rockets, and kind of we'll discuss it when we get there. But it's just a lot of shenanigans here. It's freaking March basketball. So overall, I think when I looked at it this morning and I started analyzing the slate, I felt like it was a pretty good slate. There's nobody. I mean, I would say Cade is. I don't know if I put him as a tier 1 DFS guy. Jokic and Luka when he's on his game, not like minutes limited. When Luka's on his game, Jokic is healthy. Giannis is. Those are tier 1 guys. I don't think there's a tier 1 guy on this slate DFS wise. Cade's good, and obviously SGA is good, but not a tier 1 guy. So I felt like, I thought it was a pretty good little slate earlier, and we'll see just how bad they make it with all the late scratches here. But I think it's a pretty good slate. But we'll talk. We got to talk through the injuries, man, one by one.
The biggest raw points projection we have right now is Cade. Actually, I mean, sometimes you see SGA higher, but Cade better matchup. In Utah. And is that, I think that holds true for FanDuel as well. I just want to confirm that. Yeah, Cade's the top projected guy as far as raw points. So he looks spectacular. Utah gives up, most steals, most blocks. Not that that's necessarily his game, but just, the ton of assists. Second worst defense or worst defense in all of basketball. Defensive rating. It's weird because they have a different team every night, and they are more difficult when Walker Kessler's playing, especially for a guy like for Duren. But good rim protector in Kessler. He probably plays tonight. So it's a little tricky as far as Utah's. It's dependent upon who they play, and they seem to have different guys out all the time. Of course, Markkanen ruled out. We are projecting Collier, Sexton, Sensabaugh, Martin, and Kessler to start tonight for the Jazz. Your guy Butto in chat is saying Cade is overrated. Well, I mean, Cade's going to win most improved player. That's already a done deal. Basically, it's I don't know, minus 700 or something like that in the books. You agree with your guy? I know Butto's your guy. You think Cade is overrated?
No, he's not overrated. I respect Butto's opinion. I don't think he's the the most improved player. I don't think that's really. No, he's always been good. He just battled injuries. I mean,
it's weird how they measure that. It's always
but I know he's good. He's a good real life player. He can put up counting stats, but I think he can be a really good real life player. So I'd love to have him on my team.
Anything else we should note before we dive in?
Let's
Or just
dive
we'll
in,
figure.
man. Just go for it, man. Let's just dive in.
Let's do the Warriors and Hornets first. 2 7 o'clock games. Maybe we'll get our projection team some time to kick Oubre out, and maybe we'll get some Paul George news. No clarity on Paul George. Our projection team already has the starting lineups updated on the lineups page. Justin Edwards now projected to start for Philly. The Warriors in Charlotte, revenge game, family game, whatever you want to call it, with all the Currys, with Seth and Steph and Dell on the mic. 228 is the total. 13-point favorite are the Warriors here out on the East Coast. Who's in, who's out? Well, Butler's expected to be good to go with his he's got a back, but he's probable. Quentin Post also has an ankle. He's probable. Kuminga not quite back yet, but soon. They're saying soon, but not tonight. As far as the Hornets, well, Miles Bridges officially probable with his illness. Assume he's fine. KJ Simpson's got that. He's down in the G League. They did add Malachi Flynn just for fun. Taj Gibson's questionable. I don't think anybody cares about that. Seth Curry is officially probable with his back. Is this a blowout? How are we handling Warriors Hornets? Fully stocked Warriors team. They're good to go. This Hornets team obviously pretty terrible. LaMelo feels like one of the worst plays dollar for dollar on the slate. If you want to get goofy and have fun in like large field tournaments, I suppose you can do it. But we have not seen him be good in a while. He's dealing with an injury. I think a hand, I want to say he's playing with. Resting sometimes too. Warriors, Hornets. What do you got, Chop?
This feels like a good fade game. We're always looking for reasons to maybe fade a game or two up front, and this is definitely one of them. I don't like. There's just nobody I could highlight from this game. Golden State is, like you said, getting back to full health now. The addition of Jimmy Butler, I just don't see. I mean, where's the who's got the big upside tonight? Is Curry going to go like 9 of 11 from 3-point range again? I don't know. Maybe like if he does something like that, or Jimmy's never been like a regular season guy. Let me put up a bunch of numbers. So it's not him I'm worried about. Curry could get hot. Got hot the other night, but I don't really worry about Curry at 92 in such a like non-competitive game. And I don't worry about their role players. So Golden State's a pretty easy fade. And then Charlotte, like there's just nothing. Mark Williams is probably overpriced right now, and Miles Bridges is fairly priced, but it's not an easy defense to play against. And LaMelo is a bit expensive for what he's going to give you tonight. So yeah, I'm on the train of fading this game. Don't like it.
Yeah, we talk about the tankathon. Like still 20 games left to go in the regular season. It's weird, man. 20 games left, right? They're at around 60 of 82, give or take. Charlotte is entrenched right now in the bottom three. That's what you want to be. You get that 14% chance at number one. But like, they talk about, well, if you shorten the season and like, one season sample size, but it's weird, man. A lot of the season's already been decided. Cleveland has locked up the one, not mathematically, but it's over. They're 7 games up or 8 games up on Boston for the one in the East, which is amazing. OKC is up over 10 games on the next team in the Western Conference. Now, like 2 through 5 is really congested. Lakers, Denver, Memphis, Houston, all within 2 games of each other. So those teams will be battling and jockeying, but not a lot of suspense. And even like as far as like who's going to make the playoffs outside of like the play-in nonsense. The Eastern Conference, the Heat, they have the 7 spot. They're almost definitely not going to jump to the 6. They're going to be in the play-in. And the Bulls, yes, the Bulls, this is how bad, how many teams get a chance in the playoffs. That they're terrible, certifiably terrible. They're currently in the 10 spot, and they're not moving from there because Philadelphia is not going to creep in there. They're 3 games back.
You never know, Dean.
No.
If he can get a little healthy and catch fire, I don't mind saying that Philly might. Like Philly just can't straight up drop games. Maxey's too good for that, I think. So I don't know.
They're going to try. He's not going to try to lose games. Obviously,
yeah.
We always talk
those
about that.
Players they put out there aren't trying. I understand. So what are they going to do? They're going to just tell from management down go, okay, Maxey can't play tonight, or
yes,
man, I don't think they'll do that though.
It.
I don't think they'll do that. He's probably got something, maybe something incentive based, and not to mention bigger contracts on the horizon for him. Man, I don't know.
What's more incentive based than Philadelphia?
No, as an individual, Yeah. So, like, I don't know that you're going to be able to just flat out. I don't know, man. It's going to be a tough one. I know they should, and they could tank the rest of the way and still not get their pick. That's the sad part about where they're at.
Some teams get lucky. Yeah, if some teams like luck into with the lottery. Yeah, even if they get the 6th spot, the 6th is not fully secure, obviously, going in.
So that's, I don't know. We'll see. Tankathon is on, man. Half the league is tanking, half is jockeying for position. It makes for an ugly, last 20 games of the NBA.
Yeah, well, even like Cleveland and OKC, they're going to be they're going to be cruising in, as they should be. Like, they earned their ones, and maybe not just yet, but soon we're going to start seeing some stuff with those teams, I would imagine, because they're just going to, they have their one spot locked in, and there's no upside to like going hard every single night. Outside of maybe like getting SGA, the MVP, but that feels like it's going to happen anyway. Okay. We don't like Golden State and Charlotte. It doesn't sound like it's, we've seen Steph has played a bunch of times in front of his dad, and I was trying to make that angle, that narrative against his brother, that kind of thing. But, again, you can play him if you want to play him. I'm doing the ownership stuff, kind of take a peek at the ownership as far as this game. And you kind of mentioned it, like the Charlotte guys, just none. Pods is getting a little bit. Pods on 16%. We're projecting like there's some head stuff in here, like 12 or 13 players to play for Golden State. Jackson Rowe for a couple minutes just because, like Kevin Knox, remember him? A couple minutes for him.
I remember him. Nick thought he was going to be good.
Producer Steve remembers him, I'm sure.
Oh, my bad.
Don't ask Producer Steve about Kevin Knox. Probably has some bad memories. But, yeah, and all those Charlotte guys, like the big three, if you want to call it a big three, whatever you want to call it, 1 or 2% ownership, and even the minutes have been down for those guys as well. It's ugly. It's really like Bridges currently are on 1%, Ball at 1%, and Williams maybe gets 1%, probably not. Again, if you're running like 100 lineups, if you're playing contests where the top 30% get paid, then sure, have at it, enjoy yourself. But for single entry, smaller field stuff, I can't imagine playing any of these guys. Okay.
Yeah. So, Dean, you mentioned jockeying for position, and Cleveland's all but got the first seed in East locked up. I just want to give a little shout out, a little love to Cleveland for that comeback the other night against Boston. Man, 25-3 or something. I think it was 25-3.
It was 25-3.
Man, nice comeback. That showed a lot of heart. I give them credit for that. A lot of teams would roll over in the NBA. So good to see that they're playing it out like that. I like that. I appreciate that.
We got our bold call right. We don't always get the bold call right. We don't. But our bold call that night was Donovan Mitchell scores 40 plus points. I think he scored 41 or so just for fun. But let's move on. Let's talk about Portland and Philly. That is the next game. We just got that news as far as Oubre. Let's see, the 3 picks after Knox in the 2018 draft. They were Mikal Bridges, SGA, and Miles Bridges. Yeah, that's wild. Didn't know that. Yeah, I mean, it's much easier to do the draft like 5 years later, but that's pretty tough. That's a tough scene for sure. Portland and Philly, 229.5 is the total. Philly looks like a couple point favorite here. We just got the news that Oubre is out. He's not feeling particularly well. He had the fish. Of course, we know Embiid is out for the season. Eric Gordon, I believe, is out for the season. Lowry is still out. He's got that old hip. Gershon Yabusele is available. He looks like he kind of lost his starting job there to Drummond. I don't know if you saw his quote, by the way. Yabusele took a right to the eyes, both eyes. He said he felt like the dude was touching his brain, which doesn't feel very good. I can't imagine. But, he's available to go. Yabusele, that is, as far as Portland. Ayton out. Grant out. Will we see those guys? Ayton, who knows? We haven't seen him in a while. Robert Williams, of course, he is out as well. I don't know if we've seen Matisse Thybulle all season long. He is still out. We saw Denny get loose last time, right? Denny Avdi has had a weird week or so. He was super, super chalky in that revenge game. He got hurt. and then he bounced back and was an absolute monster last time out. Blazers, Philly, we're expecting Sharp to jump in that starting lineup now. Simons, Sharp, Kamara, Avdia, and Klingon, who fouled out yesterday in 11 minutes, was it? Which is it's kind of impressive, to be honest. He can be handsy. But it's a good old school matchup. That's the way they line up, Drummond and Klingon, as far as bigs. Throwback to 1999 or something like that, if you're into that kind of thing. But Blazers, Sixers, thoughts?
My thoughts are, Dean, I have Denny Avdia highlighted along with Shaden Sharp. I think those are some pretty good plays. I was borderline on the fence about recommending Simons. I actually think he's a decent play, a solid play. I don't know if there was enough there to push him forward on the show, but I don't mind Simons, but I certainly like Sharp. I certainly like Avdia on that side. Philly's defense is pretty much in shambles right now. If everything's going according to how you think it's going to go and there's a big tank, the defense probably isn't going to be very good anyway. Hasn't been anyhow. So I think those plays are fine in Philly. For the Philly side, I guess we'll wait and see what happens to Paul George, but I definitely want to give a shout out, Dean, to my guy Quentin Grimes, University of Houston product. What a performance the other night, man. He couldn't miss from the field. He was missing from the free throw line, but he couldn't miss from the field for a while there until he kind of.
How did Dallas trade him away? It's the worst trade they've done in years.
Who was the first one that gave him away here? My bad. Producer Steve Nicks. Sorry. No, I always thought Grimes is a good 3-and-D guy, right? Like a good 3-and-D guy. I thought he could be successful.
I don't know if that's that. He's
What's
a good defender. He's a good defender.
Oh yeah. He's definitely a good defender. He's about 6'5", and he comes out of that Houston system, and they will defend you. So, yeah, I thought of him as a 3-and-D guy in the league, but man, he's showing he can do more than that a little bit. So, good pickup for Philly. Appreciate that. Don't know if we're going to get another game out of him like that for the rest of his career, but I think he's a solid player. And if they're going to go in tank mode, then sure, I guess guys like him are going to get more looks, and obviously he's stepping to the forefront of the tankathon in terms of minutes. So we'll see what Paul George does tonight. If he's out, Quentin Grimes definitely solid play, I think, again. Tyrese Maxey, I have Maxey highlighted. I don't see him sitting out here for any reason. Yeah, and then the price tag on him is, about 3 weeks ago or so, he was $10K, and now we're at $9K on DraftKings. Getting a substantial discount, the biggest discount you've had on him probably since the flip of the calendar on the new year. So we're getting a good price on Maxey with good usage, a lot of shot attempts. The problem is right now at this very second, the 3-point shot is not falling, but if it starts to fall here with the other shot attempt, he's going to get all the usage in the world. He could put up a monster game here. So I like me some Maxey too. So yeah, Maxey, Grimes, we'll see what Paul George does. And then on the other side, I have no problems with Avdia and Sharp, and on the fence about Simons. I think he's a solid play. Not great, though. Not standout.
Yeah, if there's an issue with Maxey, like you said, the usage should be there for sure, especially if George is out. It's just I don't know if efficiency is going to be there. And Kamara is one of the better young defenders as well in the league. That's probably going to get thrown on him. So, and again, there's not much else there that the defense would have to be concerned with. Even if Paul George is out there, he hasn't quite been, his historical reputation. You mentioned Maxey, no threes in the last 2 games, which is kind of surprising. He took 32 shots against New York, which is just, man. You talk about the usage there, 12 for 32. He can get there sometimes with assists, but the other part is, again, I don't know if he's got guys that can finish and make good in those assists. We did get an update, by the way, as far as our projections. I'm peeking the Philadelphia stuff. Hit that refresh on the old lineup HQ here, chap. I just jumped to the wrong page, and I'll get there in just a second. But yeah, 38 minutes for Maxey, 36 for George. Again, we're assuming he's in as of right now, unless otherwise noted. Grimes, 33, Edwards, 29. He's 3'8", by the way, so that's of note, but I don't know how much we need that. But that is a value piece potentially. I just think there's better value. Yabusele, 28, Drummond, 24, Walker, 17. And again, things will change if George is out. If George is out, who would get? It would just be a collection of guys, right? I know we have an if-then set up. Is there anybody you just like pounce on if George happens to be get the boot?
I'll probably go back to Grimes, pretty heavy.
Yeah, I think Edwards would look better too. We have an if-then set up. It would be Edwards at 32 minutes and about 25 DK, 25 FanDuel. We've seen Drummond be okay of late. He's really hard to trust, and those rotations are hard to trust. He's been terrible pretty much all season long. It's of note, I suppose. Do you have a Drummond take?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably it's tough to say it's a good matchup for him. He could foul Klingon out pretty quick, and then it would really set up for a good matchup. Otherwise, Klingon's a little bit – he's a string bean, man. He's from that Chet Holmgren string bean, class.
What?
So
no, he's got girth. What are you talking about?
Yeah, he does have a little girth. I apologize.
He's got girth.
He's not like super muscular, but he is kind of thin enough to where I think Drummond could. But then he's so tall that maybe Drummond struggles with him. I don't know. So I don't know about Drummond. I'm still in or out. I don't know, but I just know, Dean, we're on game number 2. We got about 30 plus minutes left. We need clue number 2 now, man, because I have a guess in my mind. I'm ready to drop it, but I want to see what clue number 2 is.
We got like 50 minutes, Chop, so get comfortable. Got about 50 minutes.
I can't, Dean. I got to have my clues. I need to figure it out. I need time to figure it out. He
doesn't play like him, but Klingon kind of looks like Arvydas Sabonis a little bit to me. Remember Arvydas?
Describe to me how you think he plays like. Oh,
physically
looks. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Play like him. Arvydas looks like a great passer, a much better player.
Yeah, I remember Arvydas. Yeah. He's got a little bit of that in his face, sure. and he's big. Like maybe we should do a DNA on.
I want to do a side by side of
do a DNA test. Where was Arvydas 19 years ago?
He was
Was he already?
He was retired, I believe, from the NBA.
Okay.
I'm fairly certain. He had his knees gave out on him pretty quick. Like he was apparently spectacular in Russia. Like when he came to America, he was already kind of shot. But he had his moments when he was healthy for Portland. Okay, second clue. Second clue is it dropping right now? It should be dropping right now. We'll make Dave Chappelle happy, and we'll make you happy as well, Chop. The first clue, of course, is already scrolling. That happens to be portrait. The second clue is family. Family is the second clue, Chopper. There you go. Get in the Discord. Get yourself week free of RG Premium. Tell me what movie we're talking about. I'll tell the people. Your first guess was Titanic. It's not Titanic. That's a good guess. It is not Anora. And I was waiting for somebody to say Anora. No, it is not. It is not Anora. That would be too, I don't know, obvious, I suppose. That's your guy, Toretto, right? Chop on the screen.
Dominic Toretto, yeah. What a fantastic. Okay, I don't know, Dean. Okay, the family thing kind of throws off my guess. So think about it a little bit more now.
Back to the drawing board. You're not supposed to bank it into. It's tough. Eventually you'll get there, though. Somebody's going to get there. Let's move on from the 7:00 games. There is one 7:30 game. It's the Wiz taking on the Miami Heat. As far as the Wiz, we talked about Poole. No pool party tonight. Poole is out. Brogdon's not playing basketball tonight. For Miami, back half of a back-to-back. Bam Adebayo is officially available with his calf. And Khalil Ware is out. Ware is out with his knee. Wiggins is questionable. He's got an ankle. Obviously, Jovic is out for basically the season. Jaime Jaquez, 1 week. He's doubtful with his ankle too. So there are some potential openings here for some minutes, but we know how fickle these lineups are. These rotations are for Miami. Like we saw Kyle Anderson get the hook after a minute the other day because he didn't pick up the right defensive assignment. He was getting burned. Alec Burks, I know he was played yesterday a good bit. I don't think it's really good if he's chalky. I'm curious to see where he lands as far as ownership stuff. Under the assumption he draws the start once again, I don't think there's any guarantee he closes. He probably doesn't close. He may close. But a guy like Highsmith, he can close as well. It is fickle. Well, we got him down in 12 minutes. Okay, we did change that. I think early in the day I'm giving a refresh. Earlier the day, I thought we had Burks as kind of a popular play. He's still down there as far as asking price, but matchup, we like the matchup here against Washington. Bam should be good. Nowhere probably boosts his rebounding rates. I didn't run that, but in my brain it tells me that. And then Hero. Hero's been really, really good. Taking on Washington. I don't know who Koulibaly will be on. He's a pretty good defender, obviously. Probably Hero, maybe Wiggins. I'm not sure. You have a take on that, Chop?
No, I don't have a take on the individual who's going to guard who. I do not.
How do you feel about Miami?
I'll tell you how I feel about Washington first.
That's quick, I think.
Which is not good. I do not like Washington at all.
Okay,
I don't like any of them. So that goes by that I scratched them off pretty. By the way, how's my guess there, Dean? How's my guess in chat?
That is correct. No, I'm sorry. That is not correct.
Oh, come on.
I'm sorry.
You teased me like that.
What's funny is that in the chat, Jay Swift guessed the same exact thing, the Royal Tenenbaums. It is not the Royal Tenenbaums, but good guess.
Back to the drawing board. I don't like Washington. Miami side, I think there's definitely. It was
not a Hackman homage.
Definitely there's pieces to Miami. I think Tyler Hero's a pretty decent play tonight, but you're depending on his 3-point shot falling. So that's where you're at with Hero. I think a much more safer play with just as much, if not more upside, is Bam, who I love tonight against Washington. He should be able to do kind of what he wants in this. First of all, Washington's not going to grab many rebounds. They're going to kind of just give them all and hand them to Bam. So he's already their leading rebounder in a great matchup for rebounding. He's going to hit double-digit rebounds tonight probably. He's going to get to the rim against this team and do what he does there in the paint. So, yeah, I think Bam has a really good opportunity here for like maybe close to a 20-point double-double with some mixing, some defensive stats, and I think he could have a big game. He's only 8,400. Like Bam quite a bit. He's one of my favorite players on the slate. I'm not biting on the peripheral players for Miami after the 2 stars there. So you can do what you want. I could kind of maybe Andrew Wiggins, just a little bit Andrew, not much though, but it's Bam number 1 for me, Hero number 2, a distant third Andrew Wiggins, and everybody else in this game have no interest in.
I would just mention with Wiggins, I know the price has kind of bumped up since joining Miami, but the amount of minutes he's been getting, last time was a blowout against Atlanta, 29, but 36, 40, 42 before that. The minutes have been outrageous. Also, I did not mention this. David Mitchell had a midday downgrade to questionable. So, again, there's a lot of Miami stuff that can potentially be interesting. He's got a quad contusion.
He's been getting run, too.
Say it again?
He's been getting some good run, too. He's a Spoelstra player. He is a Spoelstra player.
Yeah. I thought Slow-Mo was, too.
Oh, God. Slow-Mo stinks.
I mean, I just thought he was a guy that he can find a role for. But yeah, we're giving Mitchell 33 minutes. If he doesn't go, do we have an if-then set up for that? Because certainly some stuff would open up. I guess Rozier will be the guy that would be the benefactor. He's down to 4-3. This could be a game where Rozier gets interesting if we lose Mitchell. I know nobody wants to roster Tyler Rozier. He's been an absolute disaster. But I think he'd be interesting if we happen to lose.
Maybe some Alec Burks.
Yeah, it's interesting because right now we have 12 minutes projected for Burks, and the lineups page. Let me give it a read. The lineups page is still saying he's starting, which is that really doesn't go hand in hand. I know sometimes you have the opener just disappear, but I would probably give him more than 12 minutes if I thought he was starting.
Now maybe last game was just like them saying, okay, here you go, Alec, get you some revenge on the Knicks, and they gave him some revenge. Maybe it was just a revenge for him.
Well, he's not very vengeful.
No, he did. But he did good.
Well, he was good in the second half, right? He stunk in the first half. I think he was good in the second half. Yeah, he was good. Terrible in the first half.
He almost upset him. He almost beat him by himself in the second half.
Yeah. We're done with this game. I think we're done with this game. Yes. It's a lot of wait and see. But Bam and Tyler, Both look really good.
Moving on down the line.
And then stuff can open up. All right. The two fastest paced teams in the league, that's the Hawks and the Grizz. 252.5 is a total. Monster numbers. The Grizz have a 130.75 team total. Just a huge number here. Although they have Santi Aldamo's questionable. He's got a calf. Ja is questionable with a shoulder. So those things are certainly of note. As far as Atlanta, nothing really new, right? Jalen Johnson out for the season. Nance, Krejci, they're donezo. Oh, Niang. Niang is not available, too. He's got that illness for Atlanta. So it's high, fairly. I don't want to say tight. 9 points. That's not tight, right? But, it should stay close in theory. Do we think Ja plays? I don't know. I don't really have a good read on it. Maybe not. They play tomorrow? I don't think so, right? This is an island game for them. This is the front half of a back-to-back for the Hawks. The Hawks are at home versus Milwaukee tomorrow night. But like the environment here, Chop, I only make so many lineups. I'm for sure going to have one that has some sort of game stack with Memphis and Atlanta in case this game lives up to that total.
Yeah. This was a great game on paper. So I think that if I start off with Atlanta, you get a game like this and you get it moving up and down the court and you have these things and you have a particular guy like Ja, if he plays, who's a dominant ball handler and all that kind of stuff. A guy like Dyson Daniels can rack up a lot of defensive stats in a matchup like this. So he's certainly in play right here, as is Okonwu, who's putting up great numbers lately at only $6,100 still. Like the projection blows away the salary. So he's in play right now. The guy I had highlighted based on some of the matchup stuff is actually Trae Young from earlier in the day, believe it or not. I think Trae Young has Memphis gives up a lot of three-point shots. And obviously the pace of this game, the total of this game tells you all you need to know about the pace. So I think Trae Young's in a pretty good spot here if he can hit some three-pointers. And he's a good facilitator. He's going to rack up a double-double here. And if he can hit his three-pointers, that'll be like a 25 or a 30-point double-double. I think Trae Young's in a really good position here in this game. I like him quite a bit. And speaking of Trae Young, Dean, I was hearing some like rumors, some just weird. I guess everything's rumor and murmurs, but I heard somebody talking about Trae Young to the Rockets. And I was like, about 2 years ago, I would have said, no, thank you. No way, man. Don't want him. But I think he's evolved his game enough to where offensively, I think he's a positive player offensively now. And I think that speaks to how he's improved his mindset as a facilitator. So I kind of dig Trae Young, man. I wouldn't mind him in a Rockets uniform on the offensive side of the ball.
And maybe the defense is good enough that like they can kind of make up for his deficiencies.
It seems like you can hide a point guard the most on defense in the NBA. If there's any position you can hide, it's at point guard. So, but he's changed his offensive game from what it was a few years ago and coming into the league. So I don't mind a little Trae Young. I think he's good. I think he's good tonight. I think he's decent in general and pretty good offensively for any team he would join. And then on the flip side, I don't know if Ja is going to play. I would imagine he plays. I mean, like they are in need of wins. Like they're not just punting this stuff and floating around in the standings. They need to win and grab a decent seeding going into the playoffs. And you mentioned it earlier. It's all jumbled. So
2, 3, 4, 5, all congested.
They need it. They need it bad. It's a good matchup for him. I like Ja. Atlanta, believe it. Like we used to. Before the All-Star break or even slightly before that, we were sitting there saying Atlanta's so bad against the three-point shot. That's what you do against them. You line up at three-point range and you just bury. They've actually overcompensated for that now, and you can get them at the rim too with rim attackers like Ja Morant. So if he's not getting them from the three-point range, he's going to get them at the rim. Like he's in a good spot if he plays and if he's healthy and not just out there with one arm. I mean, obviously that changes things. And Desmond Bane, if they are indeed going to give up something from three-point range, he's their best three-point shooter. I think he's in a good spot. if both of those guys play, which I expect Bane to, Ja's, questionable. But if they play, it takes a little bit of shine off of Jaren Jackson. But he's so good, you can always roster Jaren Jackson, and if he could have one of those monster defensive stat games. So, like you said, this is just a really good all around game. I like a lot of pieces from both sides, but those are probably my 6 favorite plays I mentioned.
Early in the day, I was writing up Dyson Daniels, and he was the 8th most popular player in this game, which I couldn't believe. That has since changed. He's like the 4th most popular as far as ownership, but still, 17%. A lot of these guys in the teens. You mentioned the Kungwu, one of the best plays on the slate as well. We'll talk about centers. We're kind of running out of centers. We'll talk about Jonas Valanciunas in a second. You mentioned Bam earlier against the Wizards without Ware, the best rebounding matchup in all basketball. No team gives up more rebounds than Washington. If we happen to lose, again, these guys are questionable, Aldama and Ja, then Pippen will be an interesting cheapie. You mentioned Triple J would get even better, and of course, Bane would look really, really strong. And one more cheapie in this game I don't mind. If you're doing the stack, actually, I could say 2. Ricochet and LeVert are like also interesting cheapies that, again, if you're trying to build out like a 2-2 type stack and you need some salary savers, you can't, fully load up and just say, well, give me Ja, give me Triple J, give me Young. We do the normal salary cap chop. Eventually you run out. So, Terrence Mann is a guy you can look at. I prefer Ricochet when you consider the salaries and all that kind of stuff. His minutes have been bumped up a little bit. And LeVert, he's volatile. He's highly volatile. No Niang, which makes it a little bit easier a little bit cleaner as far as the routes there for Atlanta. I guess Gay might get a little more run, but I'm not going to be playing. Where do we have Gay as far as his minutes? It's 17. He just kind of, starts and disappears. Zach Edey gets run off the court in this game, right? Like there's just too much pace. I feel like there's too much pace here.
Yeah, I don't foresee Zach being able to hang in there very long. They've got the weapons to go small and go fast in this game for Memphis. So, yeah, I don't think Edey's the guy. Let's see. Last time they played was about 2 months ago. He got 27 minutes. I don't know. That's not terrible, but, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they learned their lesson.
I got bad news, Chop.
Oh,
might be talking about Terry Rozier tonight.
Is Davion's out? Yeah. So is Jaime
No. Not just Davion, but Wiggins too.
Oh, Wiggins too. Wiggins, Davion, and Jaquez all ruled out. Okay.
Jaquez was doubtful, but yeah. And Alec Burks is going to project well, almost for certain. We'll circle back on that, but it might be a zombie game for Rozier tonight. Or just play Hero. Hero's going to score 40 points.
Or he goes to Burks, and he's had enough of Rozier, right? I mean, have we seen how much have we seen of Rozier since the whole betting scandal? Like, are they maybe have they intentionally dialed back Rozier since then?
He's
maybe
just not been good. Yeah, I mean he's been terrible, and so his minutes have not been fruitful. I think he's had some DNP CDs as well mixed in. So, again, it's Miami and the fickle rotations, but I think they're going to be forced to play him. I don't know how many minutes. We'll see. But the matchup, of course, suggests that he's in play. He's in play for sure, and we'll circle back on that. Speaking of circling back, we have to drop the third clue, Chop. Now it's getting interesting. Yeah, people want the third clue. No winner just yet. First clue is portrait. Second clue is family. Third clue, drop them right now, is tied for Movie Monday. Portrait, family, and tied. 2 more common bonus clues if necessary.
Tied as in
tied.
It's a tie score. It's tied up.
TIDE. I should
like the laundry detergent. Like the laundry detergent.
Well, I believe the laundry detergent is spelt TIDE. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what that's implying, but that is how it is spelt. Okay. Spelt or spelled? Spelled. I think I'm saying that incorrectly. Your Rockets are taking on the Thunder. They're all questionable. 228.5 is the total. Houston's an 11-point dog here. Who's in, who's out? We'll take a peek here. This is 8 o'clock as far as an hour after the slate officially locks. Dylan Brooks, they gave him a knee. They gave Eason a leg. Şengün, they gave him a back. Amen got a shoulder. FEV, Freddie VanVleet, those guys are all questionable. Steven Adams also questionable. And Freddie VanVleet, just dunzo, not playing tonight with his ankle. As far as OKC, Hartenstein's good to go. He's got that nose. And no longer on the injury report is Chet Holmgren, who played the other night and kind of twisted his ankle a little bit or whatever it was, his leg. And anything happens to him, they just like, yeah, we got to put him on ice. There's no reason. We need him for the playoffs. Isaiah Joe is out as well for the Thunder. And I don't know, Chop, what can we say? It's just a lot of wait and see here, right? Because I feel like this is going to be a couple pieces gone from Houston. You tell me.
Well, Dean, let me pull up something I saw earlier. That was, so the Rockets recalled Dante and Jack McVay, and Folly Dante and Jack McVay from the G League. So if we're reading tea leaves, there could be a couple of guys miss out tonight, but who knows how that plays out. Or I don't know. So just to let you know that. I don't know why. I don't know why they would sit the guys out. I mean, I understand about VanVleet. He's got a bad ankle and probably shouldn't have come back in the last game. But the rest of the
first game back, yeah.
I mean, he had a legit bad ankle injury, and so I understand he's hurt. The rest of the guys, and I understand Tari Eason's management because of the leg injury last year and the surgery. The rest of them, I'm not really sure why. With the days with some rest, that you're gonna, sit them out in this game. But it's definitely a possibility. It's looking like now. So I don't know. I think we do get a little bit of shenanigans here. We'll see how it plays out, but I would say it's a defensive struggle. OKC is a really good defensive team. We know that. They'll make life tough on the Rockets, especially if they're slightly shorthanded. So I really don't have any interest in the Rockets unless some news comes down to like 2 starters are out, right? And then we can really get into some value. Then you're going to have no choice but to play somebody a lot of minutes. And so we'll see how that plays out. If nobody really is out that's significant, I don't want the Rockets. It's a tough matchup. It's too tough of a matchup. On the OKC side, the Rockets are not – the thing about the Rockets are they have not been the same defensive team since the Jabari Smith injury that kept him out for the – are you laughing at? The Jabari
I was
Smith?
reading somebody in the Discord just made a comment that made me laugh.
Okay. Yeah. So Jabari Smith is when he went out, they started to experiment with Amin in the starting lineup, and I think Amin belongs in the starting lineup. But, man, does it weaken their team defensively to have Amin play the 4 next to Şengün. Şengün has to have a Jabari type next to him. And if you're going to play Amin at the 4, you really need to play Steven Smith in those minutes too, or Steven Adams in those minutes too. So the defense is just weakened, when they're not adjusting like that. So there's a path here for like a Chet Holmgren, if he plays, to come in and crush at 7,100 against this front line that's not starting Jabari and is playing Amin at the 4 and a weak Şengün at the 5. So Chet is my favorite player in the game. SGA is always awesome, but he's priced up. I mean, gosh, 10-6. I'd rather have Cade Cunningham. And so I think I'm not really into this game except for Chet quite a bit if he plays. And if we get the good starting lineup for Houston, meaning this is the defense I want to go against, which is Şengün 5 and Amin Thompson at the 4. And maybe a little bit of SGA sprinkled in. But otherwise, this game kind of looks ugly unless we get some injury news.
Yeah, and if we happen to lose, like you said, like Şengün, Amin, Brooks, Eason, all those guys, FAV already out, then I think Whitmore is an interesting flyer. He's 3K. So, and might end up closing this game if everybody's out. Just got to get him some run. Aaron Holiday's another guy that might project well, but he's not a big usage guy, obviously. He'll probably play a lot of minutes. Just something to keep it. It's just too many combinations to really dig into. Circling back on Miami, by the way, we're counting the players. They're down to 9. You have 9 available players versus Washington. You kind of have to play at least one player on Miami. I'm curious to see where our projections land. But yeah, Hero, Burks, Highsmith, Slow-Mo, Kyle Anderson, Bam. That's our projected starting lineup with Duncan Robinson, Rozier, Larson, and Love is one of the 9. And Love can only play so many minutes too. So it's going to be tight rotations. It's going to be a tight. I mean, you take away Spo's ability to run, a billion different combinations. All of a sudden, a little bit more predictability on the Miami side. Love has played. He played 15 minutes in a game last month. 7 minutes. 7 minutes. Yeah, he just doesn't play. I'm just trying to think how many minutes they're possibly going to give him. They're working on it right now. Give it a refresh. Should be coming in soon. But Miami is going to pop for sure. Is this the new Miami run? Did we get a new batch? I think we did. It's Rozier 25 minutes, Highsmith 31, Anderson 26, Burks 29. Yeah, these guys are going to project pretty well. Going to run some stuff and see how much Miami pops in there. But you probably want to play with one of those 3, I guess. I guess they all can kind of just be meh. But Rozier, Highsmith, Anderson, Burks, all are really cheap and all going to play theoretically mid-20s, if not more, just because that's what they have to do. That's how the math plays out. Taking a peek here at the Discord. Did we get a winner? Did we get a winner for Discord? I see that I don't think we have one just yet, unless I missed it. No, doesn't look like we have. Okay, so somebody else. Like I saw producer Steve giving away premium content. That was for Beer's 6-pack videos. You can get content or premium that way as well. Chop, I see what you're doing, and you're on the right track, Chop. I'll just tell you that. You're incorrect, but you're on the right track with that guess. It's a good guess. And the 4th clue for the people is adolescent. Adolescent. That is the 4th clue. Okay. We have 2 games left. We got 20 minutes or so until crunch time comes in. I believe it's Kyle Murray and TastefulTides Tim. Taking you all the way up the block, of course, Kevin Roth coming in as well for crunch time. And about 20 minutes or so holding it down. So we got plenty of time. YouTube, hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Do all those things. Help us out. We would appreciate it. Let's see. Oh, they're asking about Pelle Larson. Yeah, Larson's a guy that you can play, more of a flyer guy for Miami. We'll circle back. We'll circle back on that with the Heat. But, yeah, we've seen him at times close for Miami. If this game happens to blow out, if it's like a 40-point game, Larson's closing. Like he's one of the 5. That's just how the math works. He just kind of has to be out there. I'm not saying that's going to happen because, again, Miami is thin. But if that happens, he will be closing this game and get extra minutes that way. All right. 2 games left, 8:30. It's the Kings, the Mavs. 232 is the total. Life without Sabonis. We mentioned Arvydas. Here's his kid. Domantas Sabonis is not playing basketball tonight because he has was it an ankle? Yeah, he had something. Jonas Valanciunas the other night absolutely was amazing in the absence of Sabonis. I don't know if you watched that game, but he was it was actually against your Rockets. You might have watched some of it, but he was crushing. Did everything out there on the court. Like he did the things we talk about Valanciunas. He's a great fantasy point minute player historically, and kind of disappointed a lot this year. But man, when he does his thing and when he's getting busy, and the other part of it is there's no bigs on the other side for Dallas. Dwight Powell is probably going to start. I don't know if Kai Jones is going to be available. He's like 6'11". They signed him. I don't know if he's going to clear and be good to go for tonight. If you're just waking up, of course, Anthony Davis is donezo or not available. I think it's the 6th. The 6th of this month, they're going to reevaluate Lively, Gafford, Davis, all their bigs get reevaluated. And even P.J. Washington, who tried to play through an ankle unsuccessfully. Caleb Martin, of course, is out. Sacramento healthy. Otherwise, just no Sabonis. Nobody else of note. And you mentioned jockeying for position. Sacramento is currently in the 9 spot, and they very well could. They could jump in the 6. The 6 is the Clippers, just one game ahead of them. 6 through 9 is really congested. 2 through 5 is really congested for the West. And, of course, you want to get in that top 6 if you can. So Sacramento has all the motivation in the world to play their guys. Chop, Kings, Mavs, what do you got for me?
I think it's a good game. I think it's a competitive game, and they both need it. And so I think we're in a good spot here. For Dallas, Kyrie, Kyrie's, I think, is a fine spend up if you're going to go that route. You know, what he's going to do for this team, it kind of suits what he does, what he can do best against Sacramento. Stand out there, hit 3-point shots if you need him to, make plays. I think Klay Thompson gets, reduced minutes, so on and so forth. Just not playing good defense here lately. So if that's the case, Max Christie, another guy who can take advantage of this matchup. So Irving and Christie are my favorite plays for Dallas. The most ownership for Dallas is clearly going to be Najee Marshall. I could definitely be underweight on, depending on how many lineups you're making. I could definitely see being underweight on him. I don't think he crushes you in the GPP. He's fine for cash. I don't think he's going to make you regret not playing him in a GPP. And at 30+%, a third of the field, you could be in really good shape if you fade that and he does poorly. So I'm more fading Marshall. Get on Irving, get on Max Christie. Sacramento, Jonas, is that good chalk? Probably pretty decent chalk. Jonas Valanciunas, I think
the only scenario, I don't mean to cut you off, Chop, but I was thinking about this. I'm curious to get your take. So, like, Valanciunas should smash, right, against Dwight Powell or whatever is getting thrown against him. Especially if he plays 30 minutes, the price is unadjusted to a situation. Is there a scenario where Sacramento is kind of scuffling and this game, Valanciunas, he can get in foul trouble, forget that part, but just maybe he's not doing the things he wants to do. And this game just goes small because Dallas would be thrilled to go play this game small. Well, they can't help it. They have to play small, right? Is there a chance that's why I thought like Keegan Murray, maybe as like a small ball 5 could be interesting. Maybe I was overthinking like Laravia. Not that I'm going to get to Laravia, but he could play some 5. I guess Lyles can play a small ball 5. But is there a scenario, Chop, where Valanciunas kind of gets played off the court where the Sacramento's like behind and whatever, they're getting outplayed and they say, screw it, let's just go smaller. He looked amazing last game, which is where my brain is. It's like, this guy is so good, fantasy-wise at least. Even he was good for the team. Had a bunch of stocks too. Looked great. He outplayed Şengün tremendously.
Could he get run off? Sure. It's Valanciunas. It wouldn't be the first rug pull we've had from him in his career, man. But at 54, he's projecting so well. It's tough to get away from that completely. So I'd rather be overweight than underweight, I think, against Dallas, because he should manhandle that front line. So I'd be more like, would Sabonis get run off the court in this matchup? Probably not.
Probably not. I'm just thinking that's more of like a large field thing, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Like a fade.
Yeah. Or in large field, you say, you know what, you can't beat that number. Let's just lock him in. So
yeah,
you can go that route too. But after him, I think that Zach LaVine is my favorite play in this game after the Valanciunas. Dallas has no rim protectors. We just talked about it. Zach can get to the rim when he wants to. He's the guy now for this team in the backcourt. So I kind of like Zach LaVine in this matchup. Again, like I said at the beginning of this thing, was two teams fighting for that, jockeying for that position, competitive. Nobody's going to give in here. Nobody's going to tank this thing. Nobody's going to, they're going to go for it. It's going to be a 4-quarter competitive game. I could see Zach LaVine putting up a pretty big total here.
Yeah, Sacramento and Dallas are currently the 9-10 in the Western Conference. So, and like I said, I should have extended the 10. The 6, the Clippers are 32-28. The 10, Dallas is 32-29. All the same, essentially. 6 through 10. Just like 2 through 5 is basically all the same right now. One's already been decided. By the way, I ran some some lineups. I don't know why I picked 89. I ran 89 lineups on DraftKings. I added some whistles and some bells and quick kind of locks on players as far as capping them. Alec Burks is the most popular player coming in for me at 79%. We'll talk about Malik Beasley in a second. Highsmith, 60%. Paul George, currently questionable. Then Valanciunas. Then Marshall, you mentioned. Of note, Rozier wasn't really popping. Hero, 20%. Robinson, 16%. Where did Rozier at 2% for what it's worth? So, and again, I wasn't really constricting a number of players on a team. But yeah, Miami's going to look pretty good. Anything distinctly different on FanDuel? Burks, Marshall, Joe Val. Kind of the same guys. Highsmith, Bam, Hero. Yeah, Miami's going to look good. I mean, I can't imagine making a lineup tonight without at least one player on Miami. I don't know if you have to put that rule in. It's going to happen organically, I think. But just wanted to circle back on that. Taking a peek at the Discord channel. Is anybody Ferris Bueller's Day Off being guessed? Mr. Gert wants to know if you're laying the 9.5 with Houston. I bet the Thunder earlier today, so hopefully not.
Laying the 9.5. I wouldn't lay the 9.5 right now. We don't know what's going to happen. Like 9.5. I think 9.5 is really aggressive for a spread if I knew they were going to be healthy, but 9.5 doesn't seem like very much. It's
college. This is the Cougars, I guess. Yeah.
Boy, I'll tell you what.
Laying, because they're the favorite.
Oh yeah. Okay, my bad. That's a good question. I think that there's a distinct possibility that this could be a 25-point blowout. There could be. Kansas, though, Houston has nothing to play for. I worry about the mindset. They just wrapped up the conference last game outright. So there's not much to play for. A lot of emotions. It's senior night, so I'm a little worried about that. And Kansas is fighting, man. They need to win out to really get a decent seed in the NCAA. They're borderline. So it's a lot more motivation for them and less for Houston. But, boy, if this thing plays out even remotely like it should, Houston could win this thing by 20. They're a pretty tough matchup for Kansas at home.
I thought Kansas historically is really good. I guess it's a rough season for them. But Rafe LaFrenz is not walking through that door.
They have had a rough season, yeah. They just keep throwing money in the portal at guys, and they just don't gel. Like, you have to have some continuity there or a game plan. You can't just spend millions and just bring in talent that isn't cohesive. So they need to figure it out, but no complaining from me.
Fifth and final clue. We have bonus clues if necessary. Still no winners yet, Chop. No winners. This maybe we'll get there. Portrait, family, tide, adolescent, tire is the fifth clue. Portrait, family, tide, adolescent, and tire. They're all scrolling. Jump in the Discord. It is not Mamma Mia, which is a hilarious guess to me, or Project X, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or Bridge of, let's see, it's not Karate Kid, but that is an interesting guess, or A Time to Kill, or Superbad. But guesses are coming in. Chop, you guessed Life of Pi. It is not Life of Pi. Sorry. But maybe we'll get a winner coming in here shortly. If not, we will use a bonus clue about 15 minutes away, 10 minutes away from crunch time. Tasteful Tides, Tim, as well as Kyle Murray and Kevin Roth. The last game of the night here, Chopper, is the Jazz. Get excited. 231 is the total. The Pistons are 11-point favorites in Utah, which speaks to how good the Pistons have been this year and how bad the Jazz are as well. Who's in, who's out? Well, got some clarity. Tobias. No Tobias Harris tonight for Detroit. He's out for personal reasons, not playing basketball. Otherwise, everything else is pretty clean. We haven't seen Ivy in forever. Nobody else of no. Oh, no, Beef Stew. Like a midday downgrade for Isaiah Stewart. He's questionable. He's got a back. So maybe like Paul Reed minutes or something like that if he's ruled out. Maybe it extends Duran by a couple of minutes as well if he happens to go bye-bye. As far as Utah, no Markkanen, no Potter. Sexton is questionable. Shibble is questionable. Clarkson's out. Collins officially doubtful. Your typical nonsense from the Jazz. We've kind of teased it a couple times throughout the show, Chop. I think Cunningham's one of your favorite players.
Yeah. How's my guess, Dean? Did I get it?
You did not. That's so funny, though.
Dang it, man.
That's the same thing. I gave Steve the clues, and he guessed Talladega Nights as well. You did not guess it correctly, but I can see how you got there. We do have a winner. We do have a winner in the Discord channel.
Well, I want to know what the answer is, and let's just go ahead and give the answer. If it's already one, I want to know.
Okay. Well, the first clue is in reference to one of the main characters' names.
Portrait?
A very famous portrait. What's a very, very famous portrait?
Mona Lisa.
Well, there you go.
Okay,
Mona Lisa Vito is the name of the character.
Oh, okay. Oh, man. I would have never. Okay, you can keep going. I know we're not.
Yeah. The second clue was family. Family is like your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, maybe your cousin, Tide, not necessarily as detergent, but like Roll Tide. Roll Tide is something they say when you're in Alabama. This movie may take place in Alabama. I said as adolescent. You may say youths, two of them, to use. And then, of course, somebody said Karate Kid, which I thought was kind of funny because Ralph Macchio was also in this movie. Like, he hasn't done a lot of movies, but he happened to be the star of the Karate Kid. He was also in. The fifth clue was Tire. That's kind of how they figured out that they got rescued, basically because Marissa Tomei, Oscar winner Marissa Tomei, which is the reason why I picked this. I was like, let me find something with the Oscars. Marissa Tomei, of course, won Best Supporting Actress, 1993 or so. It's an older movie. Check it out if you've never seen it before. She told basically the tire marks were from a Pontiac Tempest and not a Buick Skylark. And there you go. That's how they got off, and it was my cousin Vinny. Congratulations to Ramazan getting a week free of RT Premium. Does it all make sense now, Chop?
Makes sense now, Dean. It makes sense now. I certainly was. I was on the mindset going into this thing. He's going to pick an Oscar film, Oscar type of film because of last night. It's gonna be an. So I already had these. I was always already thinking that. So, but yeah, it makes sense now. Portrait. Yeah, man, that one would have thrown me off. That one threw me off.
The most famous portrait, Mona Lisa.
Yeah, but I wasn't thinking Mona. I was thinking something else. I was thinking the film was a Oscar winner. It was about an artist of some sort of artist or something, or maybe it had a big portrait that was very noticeable in the film. Some sort of artwork that was. So I was thrown off by that one, but it makes sense, man. That's fine. They were good clues today for the most part.
By the way, and also because there was a controversy that supposedly she didn't actually win. The guy just read the wrong name or said the wrong name. I'm sure you've heard that before. That supposedly they just made it up and they had to stick to it.
I have not heard that.
You've never heard that before? Yeah.
No.
Supposedly the guy who said her name, I don't remember who it was, an older dude, and just he's either said the wrong name or was just kind of screwing around, and they just but apparently that's all nonsense and that's been debunked. Pistons, Jazz. Cade Cunningham, Beasley looks really good. I think Duran's an interesting pivot for tournaments. Especially we talk about playing Joe Val. You can play two of these guys. You can play Bam. It's power forward as well. But there's several centers that are certainly on the board as interesting plays. The Jazz give up the most blocks and the most steals. All-Star Thompson, what does he do?
You know what else they do, Dean?
They play terrible basketball.
You know what else they do?
What's that?
They have usurped the Atlanta Hawks as the worst three-point shooting defense.
Usurped.
Is that the right use of that word?
Usurped.
They've unsomething them. They're now the worst three-point shooting defense in the NBA. So you got that going for you. And
worst defensive rating overall too.
They're rough, man. They're rough around the edges. Where are they in the Tankathon? Give me the Tankathon update on Utah.
Yeah, so Utah is right in the thick of it. They're in the fringe. They've lost 7 of their last 10. They're in the 3 spot. That's the perfect spot for them. Obviously, they want to be 2 or 1. They're neck and neck with Charlotte. They're not going to catch Washington. Washington's too good at tanking. They did win their last time out, but they got 3 games on. And New Orleans is on their tail, but they've won a little bit too much of late. But Utah is in the 3, so they would be thrilled to be there.
Isn't 1, 2, and 3 the exact same though?
It's the exact same as far as winning the lottery.
Yeah.
But then if you don't win it, you get it determines 4, 5, 6, right? So, and my understanding is the first 5 are really good. Of course, the 1 is the big prize, but I'm told that it's a really deep draft this year, and even 5 could be legit awesome, possibly.
That's my understanding. But it is a pretty good draft.
Yeah.
But, so I just threw the 3-pointer out there because when you look at the prize picks or underdog, you'll see Malik Beasley with a 4.5 3-point prop. That's a big number, but it fits, man, because that's all he does. That's what he does good, and Utah's bad at that. And so I think Malik Beasley has a pretty good 3-point day, but I don't know. Where does that rank in terms of putting him on the DFS radar? I think it makes for a good prop. I don't know how much you want to use him for a DFS because that's kind of all he does. But then you kick me with these defensive stats, and boy, what if he hits his 5 or 6 3-pointers and kicks in some defensive stats? Well, now you got the makings of a really good play at 5K. So I think Malik Beasley is very interesting. Cade Cunningham's awesome. It's at Utah. Maybe that keeps it close enough to where Cade Cunningham gets that last bit of run in the fourth quarter instead of never having to come back on the court at some point, like maybe that's good enough being on the road. Like you mentioned, Nasir Thompson's in good shape. I think the Detroit guys are good. The Utah guys, probably not for me. I would understand if you wanted to play some of the value, but I don't see it. So I'm not going that route, but several of the Detroit guys stand out as pretty positive plays here.
Yeah, All-Stars in play. Like I'm gonna for sure have at least one Piston in every single lineup, possibly more. Per 36, All-Star is averaging 3.1 steals. His minutes have been creeping up a little bit of late as well. Not a great block player, but 0.8 blocks. My bold call today in the survey was he gets at least five stocks. We have our projections. Like we do have projections for it. You talk about Prize Picks, Underdog, and things of that sort. We have to make it easier for you. Like we have projections for points, rebounds, assists, PRA, blocks, and all that. They're Malik Beasley. You mentioned as far as threes, there's about Asar as well. But I was looking at Beasley for Detroit. Steph, of course. Steph has projected for the most threes pretty much anytime he plays. 5.07 is a median projection here in Charlotte. Second is Beasley at 4.93 threes. Yeah, and he's one of the more popular plays on the slate. Hero, by the way, is the third guy, 4.21. Hero going to get lots of usage tonight. Do check out our props and pick 'em package if you're into such things as Underdog. We gave away a week free of RG Premium earlier. If you want to go ahead and buy it, you can do that as well. First month, you get a discounted rate, $79.99. That's Combo Pro, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, PGA, MMA, everything with the exception of NASCAR. Check out all the goods, the links in the description. We do have Crunch Time coming in there shortly as well. I want to give one last. Is there a player, Chop? Are you playing one lineup tonight? 3, 5, 10? How many lineups are rolling out tonight?
One lineup, Dean. I think one's enough.
So when you only have one lineup, you can only play so many plays. Who's I don't know if you've made it just yet. You're probably still tinkering. Is there one player you anticipate you're like most afraid of not having in that lineup?
Well, judging by the ownership, if I usually go by that route, not really. Like, is there one like the ownership tonight doesn't move the needle for me because I'm gonna play Valanciunas, so I'm not worried about being underweight on that. The other guys who are gonna get good ownership, they don't scare me that much because they're more value plays than anything. I look at a guy like SGA. He scares me that I won't have him in my lineup and that he could be the guy that you have, like total 70, 80-point game. What if Houston comes out and plays well and they don't sit these guys and all of a sudden it's a competitive game and there's no rim protection for Houston and SGA is driving and getting to the foul line and hitting shots. SGA is probably the guy as opposed to a guy who's high ownership. The high ownership guys don't scare me because I'll have Valanciunas and he would be the scariest one. So no, it's just it's SGA, I think, because I think he has the most slate breaking upside.
The high ownership one, as of right now, this could change. That I'm probably not going to feature in most of my lineups is Paul George.
Paul George has our highest ownership.
He's getting a lot of ownership.
No way.
It's
an easy fade.
36% currently on DK. He might not even play. But that's where we're at right now.
Playoff P, man. Whew.
Well, in playoffs.
Rough.
There's no playoffs. That ain't happened for Philadelphia.
Trae Young is available to play. That's good. We got Trae. I think Trae Young has a good game tonight.
Yeah, they give him the same tag. The chat's upset at me because they asked me if I've seen Anora, and I said no. It's coming on Hulu like in 2 weeks. And I was going to buy it the other night. There's so many things to watch. I don't need to watch it right now. There's so many other things. I don't need to watch that.
What did I watch on Friday night? I forget.
The Gorge.
No, it was a new one.
Not recommend.
Oh, it was 1992 with on Stars. 1992.
What is that?
With
The movie?
Tyrese and I forget who else was in it. Huh?
The model / actor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's playing. It's about it. It's 1992 because I guess it took place in 1992 with the LA riots
Okay.
from the Rodney King thing. But that wasn't like that was kind of a part of the movie. Was navigating through that. It was an all right. It was entertaining. It
Ray
wasn't.
Liotta?
Yes, Ray Liotta. I think that was Ray Liotta. It might have been his last role ever. I'm not. Don't quote me on that, but that might have been his
It
last.
might have been.
It might have been at the end. They said, they gave a little thing at the end, to our friend Ray Liotta. So I don't know, but yeah, it was all right. It was entertaining. But Honora, I do kind of want to see that now. And I know these Oscar-winning films are typically just awful watches. I ain't gonna lie to you, Dean. I know you like that artsy stuff, but
No, I don't. It depends. I'm not like for sure.
typically this is just awful, awful stuff to watch. But just a little bit I've seen of that actually looked pretty good. So I get in.
The director Sean Baker, the Florida Project was pretty good. That was probably artsy. You probably wouldn't like that, but Red Rocket was really interesting. I don't know if you saw that. That's going that one cold. It's not for everybody, but I'm curious to see what this guy did, and apparently it's spectacular. And that Mikey Madison was good in God, what was the name of that show? It's FX show. I can't recall. I don't know if she was in a ton of stuff, but I'm told it's very good, and I'm looking forward to it. She was
in the Charles Manson DiCaprio movie.
Oh yeah, the Los Angeles one. Yeah, but she's not really featured in that movie. She's in a couple scenes, but she stands out. All right, it's crunch time. It's coming in right now. We have we got Roth coming in momentarily, as well as Tasteful Tides. He was hanging out in the chat. Kyle Murray, additionally. Let's go ahead. Let's do it. Let's bring in crunch time. Let's bring him in right now. My apologies, Chop. We started talking about movies. We forget we're doing a basketball show, Kevin. So there you go. Chop asked me about Honora. He's giving me the business, but he starts making fun of me for being in the artsy fartsy movies. And
you are. It's true.
That's not necessarily the case.
It's kind of true.
It's case by case. No, you're just buying the narrative.
I am seeing, Dina. I was scrolling through the chat. The people were pleased with your movie clues today.
Oh, yeah. Oh, very rare we get a compliment.
Yeah. So congratulations, not screwing that up. You finally did it. Good job.
It only took me like 17 movie Mondays, but we finally got there. We might as well retire now. Have you seen you've seen My Cousin Vinny? That was the answer today. Spoiler alert.
Oh, no, I have seen it, but I didn't see the clues, so I don't know.
Yeah. Tim, Kyle, we doing all right? Everybody good?
Doing good, Dean.
Doing good.
My favorite thing about Kyle, by the way, Kyle doesn't know this, but Kyle is like a late night guy, like I am, and I get like notifications on my phone for scores and odds updates like 3:00 in the morning. What time do you go to bed, Kyle? I feel like you're like me because I'm getting those, and that's when you get the best lines too. You're dropping the best lines for scores and odds at like 3:00 in the morning. Oh, I go, what did Kyle write up? But is that our standard schedule? Going to bed around 3:30? Am I right?
During the NBA season, yeah, because like you mentioned, you can get a lot of good lines early in the morning, and then I've been doing a lot of the overnight projections, so I'll finish that around 1 or 2 usually, and then do some bets for an hour or so, and then it's probably like 3 or 4 most mornings.
Good Lord. It's a young man's game.
So Santi Aldama unlikely to play, Ja unlikely to play. So projections have at it for Memphis. It might be another Scottie Pippen nights. Triple J is going to look incredible, and Kai Jones is available. Dallas does need somebody that has height. He does have height. I don't know how good he is, but he's tall. He's available to play tonight. Chop, anything else before you step aside and get out of here and make way for crunch time?
No, Dean, I think we've said enough.
That was Chop. I was Dean. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff as always. Welcome to it. Ladies and gents, you know the drill. It's crunch time. Two of the sharpest minds in the biz. The aforementioned Kyle Murray. What's up at 4 a.m? You're going to bed at 4 a.m?
It's not every night, but there are nights like tonight, for example. I'm not on projections, but with the games ending early, I'd be able to get in earlier. But yeah, some nights 3 or 4. Yeah.
Are you enjoying this, or you're just this is the grind? This is the life you live.
For NBA, I'd say I enjoy it. This year has been a little bit more rough because I haven't been doing as well betting. But the last couple of years when I was killing it on the props, it was no problem. I'll stay up a little later to cash in and get the good lines. But for the most part, I would say I do enjoy it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we appreciate the sacrifice, getting us the best lines at scores and odds, staying up, getting the fresh info. We got Tim, Tasteful Tides in the house as well. I'm guessing 11:30 for Tides.
No shot. I have not been up that late in quite a long time. Quite a long time.
Yeah, I'm like 10:30, 10:30, 11. I'm out. I rarely even make it that late. Somebody said, "Hey Roth, where's the beer?" I can assure you, it is the drill. It's Monday. I'm drinking. It's here. I've got it. We did get some Jaw news, as we mentioned, leading into the two things. That shakes things up a little bit here. We've got some breaking news. Kyle, is there any other news that we're waiting to break before we dive into things?
Yeah, obviously the Memphis stuff was pretty big. We had those guys questionable, but it sounds like now they're doubtful. Waiting on Paul George, Şengün as well. Paul George also, it sounds like he did not go out for his usual warm up, so it might sound like he's like highly questionable at best, maybe even closer to doubtful. Other big news, not a ton of big news. Like we have some small. Houston has like 4 guys that are questionable, so if it's a spot where it's like a mass unavailable. Which wouldn't be surprising considering I think they're like 10 or 11 point underdogs against the Thunder. So it could
just
be a
punt
night
the
where they just
game.
punt it, yeah.
And
Yeah, so
if that happens, whoever does start, whoever is available, I guess you're interested in, right?
Yep, 100%. So yeah, the Houston, I would say that's a big team that we're waiting on. And then other than that, it's just a lot of small stuff. But the news that we already did get, or fairly recently, was Miami. They're going to be without a lot of their team. Khalil Ware's out, as well as Andrew Wiggins. So they're down to 9 players. Basically 8.5 because Kevin Love can't play any more than like 15 or 16 minutes against Washington. They did just play an overtime game last night or yesterday. I guess it was a fairly early game, but so they're thin and on a back-to-back, so it'll be an interesting spot and obviously a great matchup against Washington.
Okay. Good stuff. Well, let's dive into it here. We'll start as usual on FanDuel. We like to start a point guard, and we like to start with you, Tim. What are we doing there?
Yeah, so definitely, I think we've just taken out Ja Morant out of projections. So I'm waiting to see what we would give Scottie Pippen for a projection. So he's potentially a really, really strong value, but I'll know here very soon. The other thing is we still have Paul George, I think, in projections. Tyrese Maxey is going to be a really, really strong play with no Paul George. So assuming George is out, I think that Tyrese Maxey would end up being a strong play. We do have that Scottie Pippen projection. He is in the first optimal, projected for 31 points. So yeah, definitely Scottie Pippen. You're looking to play Scottie Pippen in any format, really. So yeah, Scottie Pippen Jr. is a top value on the slate. Another star that I haven't talked about is Cade Cunningham at 10-6. An absolutely unbelievable matchup against Utah. So, it's definitely, I don't think Scottie has shooting guards. None of these guys have shooting guard eligibility. So really, I think you got to pick between Cunningham and Maxey as your spend up, because you're definitely playing Scottie Pippen in cash games. So you have to decide between Cade and Maxey. If George sits, which it kind of looks like he's going to, I would pick Maxey. But boy, Cade Cunningham is obviously a fantastic play. I also think Trae Young is a fantastic play and a really, really awesome matchup against Memphis. We'll talk about Miami. I think you're going to be playing Tyler Hero tonight, but you're definitely going to be playing him at shooting guard. I would not waste a point guard spot on Tyler Hero tonight. Point guard's just too strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's really it for me in terms of like the pure same thing with Dyson Daniels. I really like him at shooting guard. But you're not going to waste a point guard spot on him. So those are really.
I don't mean to put you kind of on the spot, but you mentioned you only have so many slots and there are so many good players. So who's your favorite out of those 3 dudes that you mentioned? Trae, Cade, and I forget the other one. But
Scottie, you're definitely playing Scottie Pippen. And then you're deciding between Cade and Tyrese Maxey, I think, for cash games. If George is actually out, I think I'm going to go Maxey over Cade.
Okay, good stuff. Also, did get a few interesting comments. A couple people in a row were talking about how, in general, in this spot, Kennard gets the start and overall will outplay Pippen. Do you have interest there?
I mean, I'm not saying people are wrong necessarily, but
you are.
I don't. Well, I don't. I mean, I think really you could play both. I mean, Scottie Pippen is projected for more minutes than Kennard, but I think Scotty's is a better play.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's kick it to Kyle on that note.
Yeah, I will say I just dropped a message in the projection Slack because Pippen historically has actually been like Roth mentioned, coming off the bench with just Ja out, and Kennard's been starting at the 1 because they're fine with Desmond Bane actually handling the ball a ton. Last game, Bane was also out, so that's probably why Pippen started. And honestly, the way things were kind of trending minutes wise, Kennard was probably going to play more minutes than Pippen, but he got ejected, got 2 technical fouls. So I mean, if Pippen starts, we'll probably have a similar projection. But if Kennard does in fact start over Pippen, I would probably say we're going to see Kennard 2 to 3 minutes higher minimum than Pippen. So I would just keep that in mind. Obviously, you can definitely play both no matter what, because even if Pippen only plays 23, 24 minutes, he's still in a great spot. This is a game with, I believe, a 252 over under. So massive fantasy upside here. Atlanta and Memphis both in the top 4 in terms of fantasy matchups on a fantasy point scale. So both guys are great spots, but right now I kind of am hoping that the field sort of, jumps in on Pippen, and then Kennard ends up coming in a little bit lower round and starts. So I would just keep that in mind based on, some similar trends we've seen over the past few weeks there.
Okay.
So Kyle, right now we have Pippen 28 and Kennard 25. Would you flip flop those? Reverse those?
Yeah, so I did. I'm assuming Kennard's going to start. It looks like right now the projections team went with Pippen starting at first. I just dropped a note, and it sounds like that they agree with me. So I would be pretty surprised if we don't see Kennard and Pippen's minutes flip here. So I think we'll probably see Kennard 28, maybe even 29 minutes, and then Pippen 23, 24 minutes is where I think it's going to come to eventually.
And we did just get Paul George officially out. Yabusele is going to be starting at 4.
Okay. Kyle, any interest there in the Dancing Bear, first off? And second, what are your thoughts here at point guard?
Is Yabusele the Dancing Bear?
That is, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know why that's his nickname, but that's his nickname. What are you doing at point, and are you playing him?
Yeah, I think Yabusele starting actually is going to help Andre Drummond quite a bit. So I guess we'll talk about that when we get to the center spot. But for point guard, I think whoever's starting between these Memphis guards, Kennard or Scottie Pippen, either one, both of them are going to be in play. I'd prefer the one that's going to be starting. Like I said, I do think it's going to be Kennard. But historically, Pippen's been the better permanent guy. So again, both guys firmly in play, strong value options. Cade Cunningham, favorite spend-up option. I love that Tim mentioned about Tyler Hero playing him in the shooting guard slot on FanDuel. I think that's a very sharp call. He is a fantastic play, but a lot of really strong point guards in play, so you can play Hero over there in the shooting guard spot. And for me, one of those 2 Memphis guys and Cade are going to be my priorities at the position. And I also do like Kyrie Irving as well. So in lineups without Cade, Kyrie is the first guy that I'm looking at here. And then I do like Maxey as well as a contrarian option. He's been dealing with a little bit of, I believe it's like a finger or hand injury that's been sort of, I guess, potentially limiting him. He's had a couple of really bad games recently, but, in between his 2 really bad games, he did score 30 actual points. So I'm guessing he's mostly fine. So I think Maxey is kind of in that Kyrie tier where he's a good pivot option. And then Trae Young as well. I know there's a lot of point guards that we're touching on here in this top end range, but again, Trae Young, Kyrie Irving, Tyrese Maxey, all these guys are going to go pretty overlooked with Cade Cunningham getting a lot of the attention. And Trae Young's might be the lowest owned out of that group. And he just happens to be in a game with a 252-point total going against the team, allowing the 4th most fantasy points per game. So I think Trae Young's in a great spot as a tournament play.
Good stuff. Kick it to shooting guard.
Yeah, Malik Beasley projects pretty well. Do prefer him on DraftKings with the scoring over there, but with Tobias Harris also out for this Detroit team, Beasley should start and play right around 28 to 30 minutes. If he doesn't start, I wouldn't panic on Beasley. He's probably going to play about the same minutes either way. The only thing you really have to worry about there is that game being a blowout. Otherwise, I like Beasley. Alec Burks and Terry Rozier, both from Miami, as value options. Again, Washington is basically down to 8.5 players. Burks and Rozier, both high usage guys here. And, you can argue that Rozier is actually in the better spot usage-wise, as he'll likely come off the bench. Burks is going to be starting, be a lot more popular. But he's going to play right around probably 30 minutes or so. Duncan Robinson, you can also throw in that fold. I think, you can easily play 2 of these 3 value guys, but I think it probably makes more sense to limit it to 1 or 2 of those guys. But I think all those value guys are very good options. And obviously Kennard, you can play at the shooting guard position. And I think those are the main guys that I'm looking at. In terms of some tournament guys that I like, Dennis Schroeder could potentially make some sense here at 4-1. Again, I don't think he's as strong of a play as some of these Miami guys and then Kennard, but I do think he's at least a value option. Then spend up wise, Desmond Bane I like quite a bit. We've seen his assist rate absolutely skyrocket with no John Morant. He's also been scoring the ball pretty well. So Desmond Bane I like quite a bit tonight.
Good stuff, Tim. Your thoughts on the two?
Yeah, Tyler Hero is my favorite spend up, followed by Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane is also small forward eligible, so that makes him a really, really strong play with that multi-position eligibility. Dyson Daniels, I think, is a fantastic play. We want to build into that game. Like, if we wanted to do like a 2-2 game stack with that, Bane and Daniels or something like that, I think that's fantastic. For value, I'm right with Kyle, like Malik Beasley, Alec Burks, Terry Rozier, I think are really, really strong plays. I think if I had to choose, I do agree with Kyle. Like, Terry Rozier is probably in a better spot in terms of usage coming off the bench. I still think I trust Burks a little bit more. So I'm probably going to roll with Burks and not Rozier. But I do think Rozier is completely valid for large field GPPs. Some guys that I think may go low owned is like a Dennis Schroeder. Kyle mentioned about Pajemski at 6,300. I think he's a pretty solid GPP play. And somebody like Zach LaVine, I think he's going to go pretty low owned tonight.
Okay, good stuff. Let's go to small forward. You mentioned Malik Beasley. He's got the old MPE, so he can be shooting guard or small forward. And you prefer him at small forward?
I think I probably do prefer him at small forward. I really like Zachary Risachet. He's 4,700. He's small forward, power forward. So I guess you could play Risachet at a power forward spot as well. But yeah, I guess I probably do prefer Beasley at small forward on FanDuel. Najee Marshall is another really, really strong points per dollar play. Desmond Bane, again, he's small forward eligible. I think Asar Thompson at 6,400 is a strong GPP play. I'm trying to and then sorry, I completely forgot about Haywood Highsmith also. Miami only has 9 players, so he's 4,100, projected to play 32 minutes against Washington. So Highsmith is a really, really strong spend down option if you need the salary.
And then, Tim, we've got Paul George here as the second highest owned dude, and all signs are pointing to him potentially being.
He's out. He's
officially out at this point.
He's officially out. Yeah.
So, is there someone who kind of now you're considering? Okay, I want this guy who's filling in that role, or you're just
not like a straight 1v1, but like now I have a lot more interest in Tyrese Maxey. Like before, it was going to be 100%. I was going to play Cade Cunningham or Tyrese Maxey. Now it's a much harder question.
There's not a value guy though.
I mean, I don't even know how much Yabusele is. He's 5'5". I guess. I mean, he doesn't project great. No. Grimes 6,200. Nah, I mean they're decent plays, but nobody on Philly is that strong on FanDuel that I'm seeing right now.
Okay, good stuff, Kyle. Your thoughts there at small forward? People saying Grimes, Lonnie Walker. Any interest in those kind of fringe dudes, or no? We got better plays.
I want to see how Walker actually projects once everything gets updated. But Grimes, I do think, more than fine. I will say, I think Grimes' minutes are kind of questionable, right? He had 2 games where he played sub 25 minutes, then played 37 minutes last game. Obviously, he scored 44 real points, so he played himself into some more minutes. I think with how shorthanded they are, he's probably going to see mid 30s again. Lonnie Walker, I think, is probably a bit thin. Looks like right now we're working in like the 18-minute range for him. It should actually be Justin Edwards that sees more minutes. I'm not sure if he's small forward eligible. It doesn't look like it. So it looks like Edwards is going to be the guy to actually benefit in terms of the value Sixers. So no real interest in Lonnie Walker for me. For the small forwards, I do like Najee Marshall. I like quite a bit. We're projecting him to start. I would definitely make sure we're confirming that. They've done some weird things with the starting lineup. Dallas has, but I do like Marshall. Beasley as well. You can play at small forward. Highsmith there at 4-1. Again, I'm probably not playing any more than 2 to 3 of these Miami wings, especially all the guys that are sub 5K. but Highsmith is probably my second or least favorite Miami player. I do like Duncan Robinson a little bit more in the value option as well. So Highsmith I think is fine, but maybe not my favorite play, especially if he's going to come in around 30% projected ownership. DeMar DeRozan I think is a really strong tournament play. I guess we'll see where the ownership actually settles in. We have him at 31% right now, but I do think with people spending up a little bit more at the guard position, they'll probably end up we'll probably see DeMar DeRozan's ownership fall a little bit, especially with Desmond Bane picking up some steam as well. But in limited samples with no De'Aaron Fox and no Domantas Sabonis, we've seen DeRozan have a massive usage rate and a nice assist rate improvement as well. So I like DeRozan quite a bit. Duncan Robinson is a value play, and then Denny Avdia, who's coming off of a massive 30-point triple-double. Game went to overtime, but he had the 30-point triple-double, I believe, before regulation ended. So all his numbers look great with no Jeremy Grant and no DeAndre Ayton. So I love Avdia here in the spot as a guy who I think is going to go very overlooked. And then, I like the Risha call. Christie as well, I think, is in play. And then I think that's pretty much it for the value guys. But Avdia is probably my favorite tournament play right now.
Okay, kick it to power forward.
So we do get Yabusele starting here. I think he's fine at 5.5. I don't think he's going to see like a massive minutes bump there. I mean, we're probably going to see him in the low 30s, and I believe we had him at 28 or 29 anyway. So he's going to see 3 to 4 minutes boosted there, but I still think he's a fine value play, but maybe not as strong as a guy like Najee Marshall, who I like quite a bit. But there's some good spend up options here. Bam Adebayo looks phenomenal. Rebound rate should be better with nowhere. Assist rate should be better with a lot of these wings off the floor. Him and Tyler Hero are going to be touching the ball a ton. So love Bam here, especially you can play him at power forward. Triple J, smash spot. I think you're probably wanting to play either Triple J or Desmond Bane in the majority of lineups, if not all of them. Love that spot for them. DeMar DeRozan, like I mentioned, the small forward position. Denny Avdia as well. If you want to value play Miami, Kyle Anderson, it seems like they really don't want to play him. I mean, they essentially had Haywood Highsmith out of the rotation, and they let him come back to play like 35 minutes in the last 2 games to avoid giving Anderson a ton of minutes. But again, they have 8.5 players essentially, with Kevin Love only be able to play 14, 15 minutes. So if he's going to play mid-20s minutes, Slow-Mo is a guy that can definitely produce on a permanent basis. So at 24 minutes projection, I do think Kyle Anderson's definitely in play as a value option.
Okay, Tim, your thoughts at the 4?
Yeah, so definitely Bam is my favorite of the spend ups, 8.6. Kyle talked about him. Jaren Jackson would probably be my second favorite spend up option. He's at 8.8. They're both power forward center, so you could play them hypothetically at the center position and get to some of these other power forwards if you wanted to. Okongwu at 7K in that Memphis game, I absolutely love. Like, that game's got a 250 plus total. So, I mean, getting exposure to that game is a really good idea tonight. If you want to go down low, spend down, I think Najee Marshall is probably my preferred choice. I think Justin Edwards at 41, if you really want to punt the position, he's going to be playing around 30 minutes tonight. He's 4-1. I think that's an okay play. I'm just going to mention Reese Shea again because he is power forward. He's one of my favorite value plays. I know Kyle Anderson's projecting well. I don't really want to play him, even though I want exposure to that against Washington. So I'm going to find other heat to play over Kyle Anderson. But I mean, he is definitely an okay play. Like, if you're making multiple teams, like if I was making like 20 plus teams, I would maybe play like one or two Kyle Andersons. But he's not something that I absolutely love. I don't know. After that, I think that's really about it in terms of guys that I really want to get to in like a 3 max setting.
Okay, let's go to center. I know maybe the conversation begins and ends with Joe Val, but it certainly at least starts there. Tim, you just playing
Absolutely, him? Yeah. I mean, it definitely starts there. I mean, it's a little bit nerve wracking just because it's kind of sketchy that he's so chalky, but I think he's the correct play.
But historically, the only issue is minutes for him, and you really feel those minutes you're confident in what, 30 plus?
No, I wouldn't say 30 plus, but I'm confident in like I'd say 27 plus.
Yeah.
We have him projected, I think, for 29. So yeah, like if he gets 29 minutes, like he's gonna smash. So yeah, I mean, he's definitely somebody. Like, he'd be a 3 out of 3 play in the 3 max for me. He'd be something that I'm trying to get overweight in large field GPPs. And the other thing is, center isn't that great tonight. There are some okay plays, but it's not like a super. The opportunity cost at center is not extreme this evening, so I would just be 3 out of 3 on Joe Val. Maybe sprinkle in a little Andre Drummond or Jalen Duren into your GPP portfolio, but really he's a 3 out of 3 for me.
Okay, Kyle, your thoughts at center?
Yeah, I think Joe Val is a pretty strong play. I will say, like, if you are looking for reasons to fade him, this could easily be a game where he kind of gets played off the floor just by Dallas going small. Dallas is essentially, they just lost Moses Brown after his 10-day ran out. They don't have either their starting caliber centers. PJ Washington also out. It could easily be a spot where Dallas just has a small lineup out there and the Kings match him with either Keegan Murray at the 5 or Trey Lyles at the 5. Would not be surprising at all. If you're not playing Joe Val, I do think it makes sense to have increased interest in Trey Lyles, who is a value option at power forward. But right there at the same price, Andre Drummond, I think, is a really strong pivot here. I love Andre Drummond tonight, especially with Yabu starting. In recent games, Yabu's been the backup 5, which has kind of essentially played Drummond off the floor at times because they want to get Yabu minutes because he's been playing really well all year long. With both those guys playing side by side, I think Drummond has upside to play 30 minutes tonight. And Portland's been a fine matchup for rebounding, especially with a lot of these guys out. I know Klingen's been a guy who's kind of been in foul trouble religiously with the starting role here, but I think Drummond could be in for a big game. Again, he's up there with Joe Val in terms of his permanent production. He's probably going to have half the ownership, maybe even less, especially if people don't really catch on to the late steam there and they just stick with Joe Val there. So yes, Joe Val's a great option, but again, I do think there are holes to poke into him, especially with him playing fewer minutes than expected. And Andre Drummond, I think, is a great play. But a lot of these guys at the center position, spend-up-wise, are very nice options on FanDuel because you can also play them at power forward. 3 guys specifically, Bam, Triple J, and Okongwu here in that amazing game environment. The Atlanta and Memphis game, 7K for Okongwu. I didn't mention him at the power forward spot. Do like Bam and Jaren Jackson more, but Okongwu also a very strong play.
Okay.
And the other thing I want to say is if you don't want to play Joe Val, the same thing about Lyles. Play DeRozan because it's definitely going to be a small game, so DeRozan could be a really, really strong play if Joe Val busts. So
okay, we're only 13 minutes into lock. We were running behind. That is kind of my fault. Make sure you're checking out the best deal in the industry. Your first month of Combo Pro, $79.99 for your first month. That's only $15 more than PGA, and you get all the sports. Only $5 more than NBA Premium. You get all the sports. What are you doing? Sign up. Make sure you're taking advantage of that right now. In the meantime, let's kick it over to DraftKings. Kyle, you get to lead us off. And instead of doing point guard alone, just combine the guard position, point and shooting guard, so we can get it moving a little bit.
Sounds good. Yeah, I do think Maxey is a better play on DraftKings than he is on FanDuel, just price and scoring wise. So he projects really well. Cade, those are the top 2 spend-up options on the slate. But again, similar to FanDuel, you have Trae Young, Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero's tougher to play on DraftKings than he's on FanDuel because he doesn't have that shooting guard agility. But again, you have the guard slot, utility slot, so you can definitely make that work. So those are the 3 spend-up options that I think are the more optimal plays. And then Trae Young and Kyrie Irving are the other 2 tournament spend-ups that I like quite a bit. The value guys are pretty much the same as we talked about on FanDuel. You have the Memphis guys, the Miami guys. Those guys are all sub 5K. Burks is only 3.3 on DraftKings, really strong price there. Desmond Bane also at 7.6. Like him quite a bit in this spot. So, I think there's a pretty common theme between today's slate. There's a lot of great plays in only like 2 or 3 games. So I think, a lot of the ownership is going to be condensed into those games. But those are pretty much the favorite spots for me on DraftKings.
Okay, good stuff. Tim, kind of similar to what we're dealing with on FanDuel. Not any major changes.
No major changes. That's really the same thing with me. Cade and Maxey are the best spend ups. Guys like Pippen are completely fine. He's 4.9, so he's a decent punt. But I think this is a spend up position. Either and Hero, Maxey, and Cade are my kind of like top raw point guys.
Okay, Tim, I got to let you know, people have been complimenting your beard and said that it looks like you're doing an open mic poetry night after the show. They're digging the fit as well.
I don't know if that's a compliment. I don't know if any of those things are compliments.
They are. No, good beard game. You look. I mean,
my beard is strong. I will admit that. Yeah,
can't argue that. That's a fact.
Yeah.
All right, what are we doing? Are you done here?
I'll go to shooting guard real quick. Alec
Yeah.
Burks 3-3. Should play around 30 minutes tonight. Just a really, really strong game environment. I do have faith in him. He kind of struggled last night, but this is a way better spot. So Alec Burks, Malik Beasley, probably better at small forward, but strong play either way at 5K. Luke Kennard, we're giving him 28 minutes. A really strong play at shooting guard also. If I had to choose between Kennard and Burks, I think I'd still go with Burks, but really you might want to be playing both. It's pretty close. I don't know how Kyle feels about that. What would you do between Kennard and Burks, Kyle?
Yeah, it's close. I think Burks is just so easy to get to. He kind of works out a lot of things with his salary relief. But Kennard, I do think, is a really strong player, especially if that ownership doesn't catch up and people sort of flock to Pippen. But I think both should be priorities for cash lineups and optimal lineups, stuff like that.
Yeah, and then for spend ups at shooting guard, it would be Desmond Bain and Dyson Daniels for me.
Okay. Quick shout out to Leroy Gonzalez in the YouTube chat. Says, hey guys, love your streams. I'm new here. Thank you. Love you guys. It was a double love you guys. We appreciate that. If you're watching on the YouTube, make sure you hit us with the thumbs up, like, subscribe. That is the reason we're putting out this free content. We need the eyeballs. Your likes make that happen. So make sure you hit the thumbs up. We got a bunch of people watching and not enough likes. So we want to kind of make that equal. We should have a thumbs up for every watcher. So bump that thumbs up. In the meantime, Tim, what are we doing at the forward position in general? Again, you can combine small forward and power forward.
All right, combining the two, I would say Bam is my favorite of spend ups. Is Bam. Jaren Jackson Jr. is very strong as well. DeMar DeRozan, we talked about. Malik Beasley, Najee Marshall as mid-range plays, and then Justin Edwards and Highsmith are going to be your value plays at the small forward, power forward position.
That all you got? Anything else you love?
No, I mean not that I love. I talked to kind of bearish on Kyle Anderson. I guess I saw Thompson at 5,300. I like in GPPs.
Yeah. Okay. Kyle, your thoughts forward?
Yeah, a lot of really good spend up options that are power forward and center eligible. So you can play like 4 or 5 guys who have center eligibility on the slate and get away with a lot of really strong plays. At forward, Jaren Jackson, Bam, those are my 2 favorite spend ups. Also really like DeMar DeRozan and then Denny Avdia. So those are the guys a little bit cheaper, mid-range guys who I think will be a little bit lower owned as well. Love both of those options. Edwards is probably the best value play on the slate for me at the position. Small forward, power forward, 3-8 should start. We have him for 32 minutes. Najee Marshall, 5,400 there against Sacramento. Again, want to confirm that he's starting, but if he does, I think 32, 33 minutes is probably the way to project Marshall there. I think he's a really strong play at that rate. And then all the Miami guys, right? Highsmith, Duncan Robinson, Kyle Anderson, all these value plays are in play there. And then Alec Burks as well. Obviously, he's a shooting guard, but for the forwards, I would rank those guys on DraftKings, specifically Highsmith, Duncan, and then Kyle Anderson. Kyle Anderson, I think you can argue that he has the highest ceiling of those guys, but he also has a floor of like 5 minutes, and I wouldn't be all that surprised. So just keep that in mind. And then I like the Asar Thompson call as well. And then Risa Share, Keegan Murray also at power forward, and then Yabu, who has power forward center eligibility. Probably won't play him a ton, but I do think he's worth mentioning. He's at least a decent play. Okay.
We'll go to center, and I assume it's a lot of those dudes who had the power forward center eligibility, but also Joe Val.
Yeah, 100%. The one thing on DraftKings versus FanDuel, Okongwu does not have power forward eligibility. He's just center only, but he's also cheaper in comparison. He's only 6'1" over on DraftKings, so I like him quite a bit here. Jaren Jackson, Bam. And then it's the Joe Val versus Drummond kind of conversation, but you don't necessarily need to make a decision. You can play both of them on DraftKings while you can't do that on FanDuel. Again, I love Drummond here. We have him for 26 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays 30 here. They're going to need a size. Portland has a lot of big guys on their team, especially if Klingon can stay out of foul trouble. So if Drummond plays 30 minutes, obviously the ceiling is massive there for him. So I don't even mind taking a stand on Drummond over Joe Val if you're okay with a lot of risk and being very contrarian. But obviously Joe Val is the cash center right now.
Kyle, you playing them both?
On DraftKings, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Tim, your thoughts at center, and are you interested in Drummond the way that Kyle is?
Yeah, I think it's a really strong call to go with Drummond tonight. But obviously, Joe Val's the cash game play. I love a Kongwu tonight. I really like Jalen Duren also at 6,900. And then I think that's really it. That would be my entire pool is Joe Val, Okongwu, Drummond, and Duren.
Any interest in Lyles? I know you're not playing him, but is that crazy?
I'm trying to see. We have projected for 18 minutes, so maybe potentially if this game goes small, he gets a little bit more. I guess that's decent, but I'd play him at power forward if you do.
Okay. And then we're still waiting on some Houston news to drop. And Power says if the starters are out, I'm definitely playing Whitmore. And if they're doing like a mass benching, Cam Whitmore is the dude, right? He's the usage guy on Houston if the starters are gone.
Yeah, it would be Whitmore, and I think Aaron Holiday would actually also project pretty well. We have an if then for that. So Aaron Holiday was really popping in that. Yeah. But Whitmore was also.
Yeah. Let's take some QQs. We've got less than 5 minutes until lock. I'm jumping in the RG Discord. That's where the cool kids hang out. And let's start with the question from Sean to Kyle. FanDuel GPP, any interest in Levine?
I think Levine's fine. I do like DeMar DeRozan more, so I would prefer him as the king contrarian spend-up option, but I think Levine's fine.
A lot of people kind of hung up on this like Pippen v. Kennard thing. Tim, where do you stand? B-Hand says DK single entry, Pippen versus Kennard, straight up. Who do you prefer?
I like Kennard because you can put him in the shooting guard spot. I don't want to waste the point guard spot. So if Kennard starts, it's definitely Kennard.
And is that basically what it comes down to? Is just who's starting? If Pippen is starting, more interest. If
I would be more concerned that Pippen ends up playing a couple more minutes than Kennard. What do you think about that, Kyle? If Pippen started over Kennard?
Yeah, if Pippen starts, I think he'd be probably the better play. But I still think that if Pippen starts over Kennard could still be the guy to play more minutes. He was on track to do that last game before he got ejected. So I think if Pippen starts, they're both even better plays. Kennard would obviously take a slight hit there, but Kennard, I think, off the bench would be a better play than Pippen off the bench, if that makes sense. So
if Pippen's on the bench, are you playing him or are you out?
Definitely not out. I'll have some of him. I don't think he's as strong of a play if he's obviously starting, but just because there's other guys in the same price range, and then I would just prefer Kennard. So,
yeah. Okay. What else do we have? FanDuel GPP, Kyle, right back to you. Joe Val or Drummond? Oh, those are like your two favorite plays of the night.
Yeah. I mean, it just depends on how you want to approach the slate. If you want to be contrarian, Drummond's going to get the job done for you there. And I think that their ceilings are pretty similar. So for me, the tournament play, I like Drummond more, but Joe Val's definitely the safer, more optimal play.
Okay. Tim, we talked about Pippen versus Kennard. J Sam says FanDuel single entry. Can you play them both if you're not playing Bane?
I wouldn't play. I don't think I want to play both Pippen and Kennard tonight.
Kyle, got any thoughts on that?
I think you could play both of them, especially if you're not playing Bane, but I do agree with Tim. Like, there's so many other options on the board. Like, why roster two guys who are going to be competing for not only stats but also minutes. Like, I think if Kennard has a game where he plays minutes above projection, it's going to hurt Pippen and vice versa. So,
yeah. All right. Let's see. Aside says Tim, in FanDuel Cash, would you rather subject yourself to Alec Burks or Highsmith? I love the way you worded that.
Burks.
Okay. Levert, Pippen, or Man, Kyle. This is. Oh, I'm sorry. Levert, Pippen, or Man, J-Val, DK GPP.
The J-Val side.
Okay. DK single entry, Kyle, Beasley, or Drum? It's Drummond for you, right?
Oh, yeah, Drummond for sure.
Jumping into the YouTube again, hit us with the thumbs up. Got a few QQs coming in over there as well. Tim, Okongwu and Risache, or Drummond and Marshall?
I like that first one for larger field GPPs, but the second one is definitely safer. So it kind of depends on your own risk tolerance.
Okay. We'll go to Nasty G's question. Got less than a minute until lock. How about Steph versus Charlotte on FanDuel?
I don't love it. I mean, he's always got a ceiling, but I don't love it tonight.
Okay. Just a few seconds left. Actually did a great job of getting through these QQs. We're pretty much caught up here. Your favorite slate breaking play of the night. Tim, you get to go first. So you can't tell me Joe Val.
Right. I guess somebody who's going to be kind of contrarian is Asar Thompson.
Does he have that upside? Does he have like slate breaking upside?
I just really like this matchup, and I know I was going to play Beasley. I just kind of like I like Detroit a lot tonight. So I think Thompson does have a chance.
Kyle, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I guess I would like to see the updated ownership, but it'd be Drummond for me. If he's gonna be low enough, I love him tonight.
Good stuff. Guess what? We've hit the lock. We did the things we came here to do. Even Neil in the chat, the flannel god, says, good show. Good luck, guys. Good luck to all of you as well. For Kyle, for Tim, for our wonderful production crew. Always working hard behind the scenes, guys. We appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been